The media is reporting that Warren Buffett has sold his stake in BYD and that the share price has crashed as a result. Is this true? Well, no, it's not. Here are the facts. Here's the reality. Here's what's going on. And here's why I am still investing in BYD. And if you are too, good for you. Hello my friends, welcome to the channel. I'm the Electric Viking, great to see you. Welcome to all the new subscribers, welcome back everyone else, welcome patrons, welcome members. Thank you to all of you for subscribing. Thank you to members of the channel, Patreon supporters of the channel, really appreciate what you do. And it's the reason why I'm here at 5 a.m. in the morning making a video about this decision from Warren Buffett. Is what he did an indicator that BYD has some sort of integral weakness within the company? Could it be? Well, first, let's actually look at what he did, and then we can decide whether or not this points to his impression of the car company, or not just the car company, they're not just the car company, of the company as a whole. First, BYD stock price. Well, BYD hit a high of $41.30 US on the 4th of July 2022. Now, this is according to the BYDDF ticker. That's the stock I hold. Therefore, that's the stock I'm talking to you about. Doesn't make any difference what the ticker you're looking at is. They're all the same thing. BYDDF was at $41.30 on the 22nd of July. It's now fallen to $30 and 65 cents. This fall from $40 down to 30 came about while right when there were rumors that Warren Buffett was considering selling his stock. A lot of rumors. In fact, so many rumors that the price went down pretty significantly. Because the truth is the price has only gone down by about 7% since news of Buffett selling hit the market. Now, to be fair, we should have a look at BYD's actual low this year. Now, BYD on the 7th of March was trading at $23. So it's still a long way above the low of $23 on the 7th of March, which was when I bought more stock. I got lucky. I don't know. I just picked a lucky day and I thought this is ridiculous. The stock's way down, too low. And I bought a little bit on that day and a bit more on the next day when it was trading at $28. Now, CNET Post are saying that as of the time of 24 hours after this decision was made by Warren Buffett, BYD's shares traded in Hong Kong were down more than 11%, and those traded in Shenzhen were down about 8%. BYD said the market would not read too much into Warren Buffett's reduction of holdings after the move had caused its shares to plunge. This is what BYD said. We only learned about it when we saw the disclosure and didn't know about it beforehand. So there's been a lot of speculation in the market about Buffett's move. You guys, some of you have been emailing me, contacting me saying, should I sell because Warren Buffett is about to sell or he has sold? No one knew what was really going on. There was a bit of confusion. And well, of course, my recommendation to me, myself, and to no one else because I can't legally recommend what you should do, was that I'm holding the stock for the long term, for a minimum of 10 years. Unless something really bad happens. And was this something really bad? No, it certainly was not. So what actually happened? Well, on the 30th of August, the Hong Kong Stock Exchange filing showed that Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway sold 1.33 million H shares on the 24th of August. That's the first time in 14 years it has reduced its position in the company. Berkshire sold those shares at an average trading price of Hong Kong $277 per share, meaning the move cashed in nearly Hong Kong 369 million for that sale. Following the move, Berkshire's stake in BYD fell from 20.04% to 19.92%. As you can see, BYD only sold 0.06% of total shares outstanding. Now, it's worth pointing out, how did BYD actually get these stocks in the first place? Well, I made a video about it. It's a very interesting story. Charlie Munger was advised by one of his good friends who is from China, that he should buy BYD stock all the way back in 2008. Now, his friend actually moved to America and became the head of one of America's most successful hedge funds over the past decade. So on September the 29th, 2008, Berkshire Hathaway Energy, which owns 91.1% of Berkshire, spent $230 million to buy 225 million shares of BYD at Hong Kong $8 each. So they bought them for $8 each, and then 14 years later sold them at $277 each. However, if we look at how much Warren Buffett actually sold, it's incredibly minuscule. Berkshire Hathaway bought 225 million shares back in 2008. Well, we now know that they sold 1.33 million, meaning they sold 0.59% of their total stake in the company. In other words, they sold a lot less than 1% of their ownership of BYD, a lot less than 1%. So this is making a mountain out of a molehill. It's absolutely ridiculous. The fact that it's even being reported on, frankly, is kind of, well, it proves what clickbait really is. This is clickbait at its finest. The fact that BYD's share price would drop by 8%, or really overall closer to 15% over the past month, as a result of Warren Buffett and Berkshire Hathaway selling only 0.59% of their stake in the company, means what? It means exactly nothing. 0.59%. Essentially, what Berkshire Hathaway did was they cashed in all the money that they put into the company initially, right? They've gotten all that back, and now everything is free money. The other 99.4% of their shares, they still hold. So they still hold 99.4% of their original purchase. In other words, over 14 years, they've only sold 0.59%. Now, I think that's actually pretty amazing. And it actually shows to you that Warren Buffett and Berkshire Hathaway do believe in the company of BYD, which is quite surprising. Now, if you think about it, we're logical about this. Warren Buffett is a value investor. Right now, BYD's price to earnings ratio is 161.32. Tesla's is about 100. In other words, BYD is exactly the kind of stock which he would tell you to steer clear of. Don't buy BYD. It's not under his radar. Because why? Because Buffett buys companies that have generally, almost always, buys companies that have a low price to earnings ratio, a low multiple, right? He believes in value investing, finding companies that are a good price for a good company. Those companies include companies like Apple. He's a massive investor in Apple. Right now, Apple's price to earnings is 25.2. Now, the crazy thing is, Berkshire Hathaway, 42% of their entire portfolio, 42% is in one single stock. Apple, 10% is in the Bank of America Corporation. 6.7% is in American Express. 7.5% is invested in oil company Chevron. 7.1% is invested in Coca-Cola. And 3.5% is invested into Kraft Heinz Company. Now, all of those companies have very low price to earnings multiples. In other words, they're all very safe, value-oriented stocks. The next largest holding is in Occidental Petroleum Corporation, obviously an oil and gas company that they hold 3.9% of their portfolio in. So as you can see, 90% of Berkshire Hathaway's investments are in Apple, Bank of America, Chevron, Coca-Cola, American Express, Occidental Petroleum Corporation, and Kraft Heinz Company. After that, Moody's Corporation is 2% of their portfolio, and next is BYD with 1.9%. BYD is barely even a footnote in Berkshire Hathaway's current holdings. They sold 0.6%. This is really basically an irrelevant transaction. It's a footnote in history, and it means almost nothing. What will happen over the rest of this year is this. BYD stock price will bounce back up. People will realize that nothing actually happened. This was a nothing scenario. This was completely created by what? The media and emotion. Traders' emotion. When there's fear, the shark circle, people sell. That's what happens. The reality is the fundamentals of this company are still holding true. What are those? BYD made an historic profit over the first half of this year. They actually made a profit on every electric car they sold, which makes them one of a rare breed of two companies in the world that were able to do this over the first half of the year, Tesla and BYD. Yes, BYD didn't make much money on their EVs, but they still made money. Their production is ramping up at an incredible speed, and more than likely, they will continue to sell over 150,000 electric cars per month for the rest of this year. Maybe even 200, maybe even more than 200,000. Now, just to give you an idea of what Berkshire Hathaway actually really think about BYD, if you're still watching, I hope you are, because this is the most important part of this video. Warren Buffett has spoken glowingly of General Motors on many occasions. He says he loves the company. And if you actually have a look at the fundamentals of General Motors right now, and considering the fact that Warren Buffett seems to love oil and gas as well, you would think GM would be the stock he would be invested in more heavily than BYD. Now, Berkshire Hathaway are in fact invested in both BYD and General Motors. They've talked about this on a number of occasions. In fact, they've talked about GM many more times than they have about BYD, maybe because it's controversial that Berkshire Hathaway are invested in a Chinese car company or a Chinese electric company anyway. GM, price to earnings ratio right now is 7.27. 7.27. That price to earnings multiple is incredible. It appears like an incredibly good value stock. It fits Buffett's investment profile almost perfectly. But the crazy thing is, Berkshire Hathaway actually own more than 3 times as many shares in BYD. More than 3 times as many. Even though BYD's price to earnings multiple says, it rings all the alarm bells. It says, hang on a minute, this stock is massively overpriced. We here at Berkshire Hathaway don't invest. We don't invest in speculative companies. We invest in companies with excellent history of value, with good price to earnings multiples. In fact, Berkshire Hathaway are comfortable doing the complete opposite with BYD, and it's the only company they're doing this with. And out of all 54 stocks that Berkshire Hathaway are invested in, BYD are the only growth company with a price to earnings multiple over 50. And BYD's is at an insane 161. What still kind of does amaze me to some degree is the fact that Berkshire even own any of this company at all, let alone 2% of their entire portfolio, let alone 3 times as many stocks in BYD as they do in General Motors. If anything, this should be telling the market that Berkshire Hathaway are fully invested in BYD, not the opposite, which is what the media are claiming right now, that they're in fact trying to sell out. And clearly, that isn't actually true. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.